You blankety blank right, it might be down to 2. We're here to discuss it, but not before. A little countdown.
We're live today.
Hi, Andrew Mason.
Hi. Live, not on tape, actually live, talking to you from
Broncos
of Denver, Colorado. Actually, I'm in the Denver city limits. You're not, but I am.
Yes. I'm in Douglas County.
Dougco. The wilds of Douglas County.
And,
it's out there.
Yes, my backyard is pretty much Lockheed Martin, so when the aliens hit, I guess I'll be the first to know. All right. Oh, hey, that was an abrupt stop. Anyway, we're here, everybody. It's Orange Blue today. Cecil, Lammey, and Andrew Mason. And is the quarterback competition down to 2? Because after today, seeing Zach Wilson with the first team, Mace, well, hate to call it this early, but I'm calling it.
We can't say today that Zach Wilson's struggles were a product of working with the threes. Of course, that means you're also working against the threes. One hand kind of washes the other. It wasn't a good day for Zach Wilson at all. In fact, there was one throw that resulted in an interception that, let's just say, those of us who've been watching Broncos practice for a long time, we're going to remember this one, not for the right reasons.
No, not for the right reasons at all. There were multiple instances where Zach Wilson was holding on to the ball too long.
Yeah.
There was another takeoff to run but he did end up passing it, but it was and then I will remember the Marvin Mims play down the field. It's just put it out in front of him. Now Mims, I think, was interfered with, but it's just didn't connect today in a way that you need to when you get that opportunity with the first team.
Exactly. The timing was off. And when you compare him with Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham, both of them, of course, working with reserve units today, it wasn't a great day for Bo Nix working with and against the threes, but Nix was crisper than Zach Wilson. I'd still say right now, on balance, based on 3 practices we've seen, that Jarrett Stidham is at the top of the list today. But I think the gap from 1 to 2 is very narrow. The gap from 2 to 3 is pretty wide, which is why, even though we're sitting here early June, at some point you have to turn the 3-way competition into a 2-way competition at best, because you do not want a 3-way split of first-team reps as training camp develops. And so I think the question is worth asking here, if even by next week, maybe the wise move is to consolidate the competition to be the week 1 starter down to 2 guys, Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. Because based on what I've seen, Cease, I think there's some distance between the top 2 and Zach Wilson.
There's a gap, right? I know Marty would say there's a glean, gentlemen. No, there's a gap, gentlemen. And it's a gap between those second and third. And if Nix is a second, I'm fine with that for now. I think next week, Mace, maybe I'm overstepping my expectations or bounds or whatever. I think next week we'll have a better read on things than just seeing one day of practice. We're going to see 3 in a row next week.
We are. Now, that last day, sometimes teams tend to throttle back the last day. That's where Vic Fangio would do his field day. You sometimes, if teams have a practice, it ends up being a hat day, as they'd say, so it's a lower contact day. So perhaps that third day may not be as conclusive and revelatory as the other 2. But yeah, it was rough today for Zach Wilson. I mean, it was, and the thing is, it's nothing we haven't seen before. It's all there on the Jets tape. So if you were expecting that the Broncos would dip him in some magic elixir and he'd come out a different quarterback, maybe one who looked more like what people expected him to be when he was the number 2 overall pick back in 2021, it hasn't happened yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but what it does tell you is that Zach Wilson really does need a lot of football rehab. and maybe more football rehab than even just 1 year. I mean, I'd go back to when David Carr went to Carolina in 2007 after spending the first 5 years of his career with Houston. And the ideal thing for Carr was not to play that entire season. Unfortunately, he got forced into the lineup, and it basically destroyed any chance of making progress on the practice field in that football rehab environment. I would say right now, I think we're still talking about Zach Wilson being on the Broncos, but I think we're talking about him being clear 3 in this equation.
Yeah, clear 3. And then I'm not sure if he will be on the Broncos. You know, like we have to see more. So I'm writing him off as a starting option for the beginning of the season. It's Jarrett Stidham or it's Bo Nix. But as far as like being on the roster, if he does not improve, because you mentioned it, it's the same old Zach Wilson. It's nothing we haven't seen before. And there's not even flashes of where like, oh, he's getting it. Oh, there's a bad habit. Oh, he's getting it. And there's a bad habit. It's just bad habit, bad habit, bad habit. I mean, maybe practice squad.
Maybe. It's not even a scenario where we're talking about him with the best throw. I think optimistically we were saying, okay, there's a chance Zach Wilson, every day of practice, he has the best single throw because there's something spectacular. That hasn't happened. The best throws are coming from, Jarrett Stidham so far.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't to say I don't think Bo Nix had a bad day. I think it was an unspectacular day. I like some of his throws in the red zone. And this is another thing. They went, we saw them go 7-on-7 today. So in a compressed area, it's making things a little more difficult decision-wise and window-wise. And Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix were both making, I thought, pretty good decisions out there. Mm-hmm. And Zach Wilson wasn't. And the thing is, not only are Zach Wilson's decisions not great, but they're not quick. This is the thing.
God, no.
You have to make a choice. The worst thing you can do is dither in this offense. And Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix are both decisive in what they're doing, and they get through their progressions quicker. It's just not there with Bo Nix. I mean, I think Phil Simms had a comment a couple of weeks ago about, questioning whether Zach Wilson was Sean Payton's type of quarterback. Right now, doesn't look like he's doing the things that Sean Payton wants his quarterback to do at this point, because it has to be quick, and it's not there. Doesn't mean they're not going to be patient, but that patience may only last through August.
There is a limit to how much patience you're going to have. And I think Sean Payton may be falling into a trap that even myself falls into from time to time, where you're biased about the players you liked before college. We heard it after practice in his 30-plus minute press conference. When Sean's chatty, we can get a lot. So let's play this clip about how he wanted Zach Wilson. Well, do you still want him now? Here's what Sean had to say.
We just felt like, man, we'd love to work with this guy. It wasn't too long ago. We remember grading him, and we felt the investment was worth it relative to his skill set and his talent. And so it took a while. We spent the better part of a month and a half working on that trade.
Month and a half. By the way, that timeline is increased on the trade now, because what we were talking about and what we had heard, and Sean Payton had mentioned this even, was that the trade discussions began in Orlando at the league meetings, and then they got it done 4 weeks later, just before the NFL draft. Now we're talking about a month and a half, which tells you those discussions began right around the start of the new league year, right around free agency. So right around the point where the Broncos were in on Sam Darnold, were in on potentially trading for Sam Howell, Zach Wilson was, I wouldn't say the ace up their sleeve, because that would be saying Zach Wilson's an ace. And unfortunately, right now, we're just not seeing that. But the notion of having Zach Wilson in their back pocket as somebody that they could bring in as an extra veteran was always there. The other thing on Zach Wilson, he does fit the Sean Payton template of, a first-round quarterback who maybe needs a little football rehab to get back on track. Kerry Collins, Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater. He's got a history with guys like that. So, Zach, you can see why the past of Sean Payton would make Zach Wilson, even though his skill set may not translate. The past background and the earlier scouting made him intriguing to the point where the Broncos wanted to bring him in.
I don't want to say it's arrogance, but it's I can fix him. Right? I can fix it.
Yes.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High, like I can fix it. Like no, sometimes you just can't. And while he does have that track record, those other guys were just better. Sorry.
Yeah.
Kerry Collins was just better. Jameis Winston was a good quarterback, and he threw 30 picks. But like,
well,
yeah, he was a good quarterback though, and he was better than Zach Wilson was overdrafted. He was never worth the number 2 pick. I had a second round grade on him. Not that I'm right on everybody, but like, my God, if we can't all realize Zach Wilson should have never been number 2, Jameis was worthy of number 1.
Yes.
Kerry Collins was worthy of a first round pick. So there's a difference in my eyes.
Would Zach Wilson have gone that high in any other year other than the COVID year where you played your games with few to no fans in the stands, in a vacuum, no crowd noise when you're out there on offense? And for BYU in particular, you didn't see a Power 5 opponent.
Right.
A lot of things came together. Look, I would say I'd look at that entire first round of quarterbacks where you say Justin Fields, he's already been traded. We'll see if he can put things back together in Pittsburgh. Mac Jones looks like a miss, although he did get the Patriots to the playoffs once. But Mac Jones is not trending in the right direction. Trey Lance, washed out in San Francisco. And, of course, Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence is the only one that's working out, so you're talking about a 20% success rate. First-round success rate's usually, 50% on quarterbacks, right there. So if you have – that's why we talk about it with this year's draft class. Probably 3 aren't going to work out, but 3 will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there were a lot of misses, including Zach Wilson, because the data from the COVID year was not as relevant and not as valid as it would have been from other years. And the other thing is, you mentioned Jameis Winston had some pretty good statistical seasons in Tampa Bay before he got to New Orleans.
Sure.
Teddy Bridgewater, starting quarterback for a Vikings team that won the division and was a, bad kick away from knocking out the 2-time defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks in the postseason of January 2016. Kerry Collins guided the Carolina Panthers in 1996 all the way to the NFC Championship game. So in John Fox parlance, these guys had skins on the wall. Zach Wilson had 3 seasons with 23 touchdown passes, 25 interceptions, 57% completion percentage, and passer ratings and ESPN QBRs and EPA per play that were bottom tier.
Bottom tier performance from Zach Wilson, but it's about Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. Now, Payton did talk, and we're going to get to the Payton Knicks Breeze comparison in just a little bit. But let's play this next clip about Zach Wilson, but then he throws in some Jarrett stuff as well. He was on one today, Mace. You get this type of day, you got to take advantage.
32 minutes. It was
32
wild.
minutes. We did. We took advantage. Here's what he had to say.
He's doing well with it. Look, when we got Jarrett, he came from – there's about 3 strains of language in our league. I'd say, you have the West Coast strain. You've got the old digit system. And then you have kind of what the Patriots had run, Rod Earhart and Bill Belichick and Parcells. And so Jarrett had come from that strain. And I'd say that there's a pretty significant, iPhone to Android adjustment there. Whereas in Zach's case, there's a little bit more similarities relative to how things are called. Not all, but these guys picked that up pretty quickly.
Well, just to explain it real quick, the Ron Earhart, Bill Belichick, it's actually Ron Earhart, Ray Perkins designed it back in the 1970s in New England under eventual CU coach Chuck Fairbanks, the Earhart-Perkins system. And the play calling is most of your calls are like 3 plays or 3 words, right? So it's pretty quick. There's more put on everybody else in terms of learning the offense and a little less burden on the quarterback. Then you get to West Coast, which of course is what Zach Wilson was a part of with the New York Jets. And those play calls can be up to like 10 words long. And you got to spit that out. And many a quarterback has struggled with that scheme, with that type of scheme to spit it out. And it's similar with Sean Payton. You've got a long play call. And part of the whole thing is that if the quarterback has a longer play call, each word of it is going, or each word or each number is going to be something that is for a specific player. So like if you're the slot receiver, you're listening for one word, that's your instruction. If you're playing one of the tackle spots, you're listening for one word, that's your instruction, that's your call. And it just puts more of the burden on the quarterback. And it's, so there's a logic to it, and kind of saying, okay, all the other guys have to listen for one word to know what their responsibility is in the play. But it's something that has failed many a quarterback. Paxton Lynch really struggled with that. Drew Locke had some trouble with it as well. It's not easy to do. I mean, you have to sit down and memorize it. It takes a lot of study to get that down.
I couldn't remember my plays for 6-man football, and they were stuff like pop, pass, out. Because I'd go to the huddle, I'd go to the sidelines. I'd talk to coach. He'd tell me the play. I'd get to the huddle, and I'd just call whatever I wanted. Usually 36 OP QB drag, which was my favorite play. It means I caught a pass. Anyway, 6-man football talk aside, Mace, there's a play that we can't talk about. We can talk about it privately, and we'll nerd out about it. I'm just going to tell you who was on the field. I'm not going to tell you the formation. I'm going to tell you what happened. But on the field, it was Bo Nix, Blake Watson, Lucas Kroll, Von Vele, and Troy Franklin. And it was a touchdown.
Yes.
And it was in 7-on-7, granted, not team, but 7-on-7. And it was a touchdown. I'm getting chills just talking about it. Touchdown, Blake Watson. And as I'm watching that formation and I see those 4 lined up, Mace, as you look in your notes, I'm just thinking, this is the future. This is the future. It's Vele, it's Franklin, it's Kroll, and it's Watson, and it's 6 points. And by the way, after that play, like he did last week after his big touchdown, Sean Payton had some tips for Blake Watson to have it even be a better play. Yeah. And it was a touchdown.
Yeah.
That's the future right there, buddy.
Pretty good. The question, I think, then becomes, these young guys are looking good. And of course, we're not seeing Audric Estime right now because he's coming back from surgery. We'll see him for training camp. But how much do you hand the baton to the kids this year? How prominent do they become? You're using this time to start finding out the depth and breadth of what they can handle. Then Payton will always remind, okay, well, when the pads go on. And I'll say I expect Audric Estime, when healthy, to show something more when the pads go on. But, Lucas Kroll, man, like even though he wasn't the target on that play, I mean, he's active out there as well, and he's getting open. Vele is going to be really interesting to watch because I'm starting to get some Marcus Colston vibes with Devon Vele in this offense. Big target, 7th round pick, unheralded, zooming past everybody, man. This is going to be a really fascinating roster discussion as it comes down to the final cut because, man, you almost wonder if they're gonna be some surprise moves to come, and we're gonna see a lot of kids, a lot of rookies, a lot of second-year guys, or is Sean Payton, who tends to like veterans historically, going to, as things get down to the deadline, revert to kind of where he is right now? It's a fascinating discussion. I mean, you know me, I'm all about getting young, especially when I think we're looking at a year that is unlikely to be a playoff season. I think you've got 9 wins. I've got 7. I think I might even be on the high end with this, but my expectations for this year revolve around growth and learning about young players. So
when does that happen? Does that happen until November?
Well, and
if they follow the way I've got it, and I can break out my little handy dandy note card here. What do I have them at? Like 5-3 when November hits, right?
Yeah.
So you have them at 5-4 after the Baltimore game. So you're 5-3 before the Baltimore game, Carolina game, right? That's week 8. I have them at 6-2. If they're 6-2, the kids aren't playing.
I know, unless they played from the start.
Right. Then they could be 6-2 with the kids. You had them at 5-3, by the way. So we're not that far off. It's 2 games.
Well, we deviate as the season goes on. We're 2 games off.
November's going to be ugly. November's going to be ugly.
And that's going to be the test of confidence for these guys. But look, the thing that kind of rolls through my head is what Sean Payton said last week about not playing Marvin Mims. Oh, we had Jerry Jeudy. Oh, we had Courtland Sutton. Okay, if you've got guys that are blocking young players, you know what? You get them out of the way. That's why they should have traded Jerry Jeudy when they had the offer of a 3rd and 5th round pick last year at the deadline. Should have gone ahead and done that. But no, went and had to hang on to Jeudy, and you end up getting less than that a few months later. And oh, by the way, you didn't get Marvin Mims Jr. some reps that he certainly could have used. So this is the thing. It's here's our baseball reference for the day. In Moneyball, when the lineup isn't being put out onto the field the way Billy Beane wants it, because he wants to see Scott Hatteberg at first and not Carlos Pena, what does he do? He trades Carlos Pena. So at that point, Art Howe has got to play Scott Hatteberg, right? Because he got him out of the way. The difference is it's not the GM and the manager. The head coach is all in one. So it's Sean Payton can basically decide, look, I want to play these young guys, but I've got this veteran. He's got to keep going out there. No, if I could whisper anything in Sean Payton's ear, it would be play the kids, grow with the kids, find a core and grow with it and nurture it, and see where that young crop goes. See how high it can spike over the field.
Right. My whisper of sweet nothings would be just trust them.
Yeah. You're
going to have to eventually, right?
Yep.
Trust them. Trust the kids.
And let them build the cohesion. Let Bo Nix build cohesion, throwing to Devon Vele and Lucas Kroll. And look, and then if you find out that they're not quite what you want, then you go back into free agency, you go back in the draft, you get some more guys. That's how this thing works. The churn never stops happening.
And the churn with George Payton. Like, after this year, you should have confidence that, like, you can play the young guys. If they don't work out, George is going to get you some other ones because you guys work well together.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
I like that.
The George Payton, Sean Payton comedy hour when they get up there at press conferences now.
The odd couple, right?
Yes.
I don't think we're the odd couple. We're actually quite similar in some ways. We're quite different in other ways, which is fine. But like, I don't think we're the odd couple, Mace.
No. Although, I mean, I got a little more sports in my backdrop here than you do.
Oh yeah, I ain't nothing but comic books, and I think I have some football books down here.
Yes.
And there's a football right there, and there's my football guy's hat.
Oh, so there you go.
Yep. A Snake Eyes glass. There's a Thoth football from Mardi Gras. Yeah. There's my great grandma Juanita's Spanish Bible. Ooh, let's see. There's Better A Bill. Look, I'm boring you with comic book stuff. Anyway.
No, it's okay.
It's all good. It's a personality, right? We don't need no damn green screens behind us. We want some personality on this thing.
Green screens throw me off. I'm sorry. I don't like shows on YouTube that use the green screen. I really don't.
Yeah, YouTube doesn't like it either.
My favorite background is probably, I don't know, you don't follow hockey, so I don't know if you're aware of a YouTube account called The Hockey Guy. And it's just like this, he does these like, anywhere from 10 to 30-minute like explanation videos, and he's like in a closet and it's all hockey jerseys. Like you could like it's actually fun. Like there are hundreds of them. Like this guy's probably got thousands of jerseys.
Wow.
Like in his collection.
Send me a link.
I will. Like you see the background, and what got me thinking about it was he did like a top 100 jerseys recently, and it was tremendous, and it got me thinking about backgrounds right now. You know, so. But yeah, our backgrounds have character. Although I feel like I should have a Bronco pennant. I'm actually thinking about putting my 1977 Bronco pennant, AFC champions. I'm actually thinking about putting that up somewhere here. Might move Bucks over there and bring Broncos in.
If you had a shelf, I told you I was going to give you one of the Orange Crush bottles from '76, I think. Yeah, because I have 2 of them. They're big and they're heavy.
Things you gave me here.
Yeah.
Colorado Rocky Hockey.
Yeah. Remember that.
And we got look at that right there. Hang that on camera right there. That's something I remember seeing someone wearing this on an NFL Films video. Okay. Some guy who had his face painted and kind of but yes, this was something they gave out back in 1977. Thank you very much. I've also got this here. Check this out.
Orange Sunday.
Okay. Denver versus Las Vegas, September 10, 2023. So this was the opener last season, Sean Payton's first game, which of course began with the onside kickoff. And then, of course, there's the infamous Let's Ride Towel, which I'm going to put to a vote during the downtime.
Oh, they're going to vote no. Everyone's going to vote no on it. Yeah.
Well, part of the reason why I keep it, it's not just the memory of the last couple of years. It's also that game, that's the countdown game, where they gave that away.
Ooh. Whoa.
Yep, it's Broncos-Texans, September 18, 2022. In my opinion, one of the finest moments for Broncos fans at home ever, showing like how educated into it they are, counting the play clock down because they couldn't get it right on the field. Embarrassing for the team. Yes,
very much so.
But I think also a great moment for Broncos country and Broncos fans. That's the thing. That's the kind of thing that's done around here. This is, this isn't Indianapolis. Okay. It's different. It means more here.
It is in Jacksonville. We're not sitting in a pool watching a football game.
Oh my gosh! Don't get me started. But pool, no. Pirate ship, Tampa, yes. Why? Because, I mean, what does a pool have to do with the Jaguars? At least like a pirate ship has something to do with the Buccaneers. I mean, come on.
Right.
Besides, they work so many traditions in with that when they fire, they raise the red flags around the stadium when they're inside the 20. They fire the cannons when they score. Like they do a lot of cool stuff with that. So the pirate ship, good. Pools, bad in football stadiums. I think they're more acceptable in baseball stadiums.
Helping us out on YouTube is good as well. How can they do that, Mace?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell so that you
never miss a vid.
I said a little too much that time. I didn't. Oh,
we got a change up for you. It's fine.
I know.
That's fine. That's my baseball reference. Change up. Couldn't throw one, but I know what it is.
By the way, speaking of baseball, chatted with Lucas Kroll today after practice. He talked a little about his baseball background and how it helps him. We're big Lucas Kroll fans around here, as you can tell.
That we are. And if we had more time, I'd go grab my Kroll comic book from right over here. Just picking it up in a collection. Exactly. Yes. There you go. He is Mace. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT is BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty,